Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
I have been in touch, with Kathleen O'Toole, who sends her regrets. Obviously, you know she's not here today. Kathleen was our first president and did the job, how long? 13 years? Henry's taken over the helm since then. But Kathleen had said she wanted me to read something, and I certainly could add to it. Kathleen said, I would like to acknowledge that many of us have stood at the lectern to honor Nick, and many have done their parts in keeping Nick's work in circulation, Nick's legacy alive, but none have shouldered the day-to-day responsibility, living day in and day out like Tony Virgilio. Tony, my friend. He has not wanted recognition for this dedication, but we would be remiss in not disobeying him this once to let everyone know that if not for him, licking stamps and stuffing envelopes, doing bank deposits and donating money, and I would say sums of money, Rutgers and for this organization, creating the charitable gift annuity at Rutgers that ensured institutional home and academic attention to Nick's papers. And this is Kathleen, nagging and exasperating the rest of us and writing some damn good poems himself. In fact, maybe the next book should be Virgilio and Virgilio, the Haiku brothers. Anyway, you get the drift. And it doesn't hurt that we recognize everyone who has been a part of this organization, especially our board of directors. This is an all-volunteer organization, and nobody's getting paid, but we're doing something great, and appreciate you all being here.
I really came to understanding haiku in the early mid-70s, and part of it had to do with a book that had come out of Canada by Rod Wilmot talking about Nick Virgilio, great American haiku poet. And so I got the book, the selected haiku of Nick, and as I read them, I started comparing them with the great Japanese haiku poets. Basho, of course, Busan, who had image, he was a painter, and Issa. And I said, this fellow Nick Virgilio is America's great poet. He's comparable to these great Japanese haiku poets. Nick, from Camden, New Jersey, started writing haiku back in the early 60s. His famous haiku, Lily, out of the water, out of itself, is a classic of the beauty of this form and poem that resonates and will resonate. Nick Virgilio is comparable to these great Japanese poets. The elegiac feeling that Walt Whitman pioneered years ago, Nick has put that into haiku for us. The kind of feeling that he was able to get in this short poem, that elegiac feeling, we have very few poets that work with the elegiac feeling. Walt Whitman, of course, was great, and Nick is buried in this Harlleigh Cemetery where Walt Whitman's tomb exists. So that, we do have now in the United States an example of one of the great American haiku poets, and that's Nick Virgilio.
It is great to be here. I was thinking, sitting there, that this cemetery was established in 1885. It was the same year the Sacred Heart was established. And we're celebrating Sacred Heart today. And we're celebrating Nick Virgilio. And I often think about Nick, and Nick being here, and the power and the money of another Camden long ago is here. But what's so interesting is there's only one person among all the moneyed political and economic power. There's only one person ever attracts a group of people to stand here and listen to the poetic words of people. And there's never a cake in front of the richest. And Nick, who was a poor man in pocket-wise, what you see there is that inspiration is the ultimate riches. If he draws them, it's by inspiration, not by his money or name or anything like that. So it's a good thing to think about, that's true and has been faithfully carried out for 25 years.
And I know haiku traditionally don't have titles, but if this had a title, it would be Waking Up in Camden. Early morning, late June, a shower of birdsong. Early morning, late June, a shower of birdsong. Hunger moon, the first grasses look good enough to eat. Hunger moon, the first grasses look good enough to eat. And this, I guess, technically is also a senyu. A sign. Psychic wanted. Inquire within. A sign. Psychic wanted. Inquire within. Thank you.
At sundown, in the stained glass window, the candle's shadow. At sundown, in the stained glass window, the candle's shadow. And one that is in the Basho Museum in Japan. Paw prints disappear in the snow. Wind under the hemlocks. Paw prints disappear in the snow. Wind under the hemlocks. Thank you.
Later that it takes a while for some of these to really come together. Just going to read a few here that I've kind of had over the years that I'm still rehashing, reworking. This is one of my favorites. Tears in the Antique Shop. Aroma of Aunt Hattie's Room. Tears in the Antique Shop. Aroma of Aunt Hattie's Room. Went to South Street and getting the smells and aroma of my aunt's house, who I love so much. Went to an antique shop on South Street that brought me to tears. It really was really something. Snow-capped peaks, icy cold bones. Hello, old age. Snow-capped peaks, icy cold bones. Hello, old age. Snow-laced trees, ancient artist hands. Winter wonderland. Snow-laced trees, ancient artist hands. Winter wonderland. Summertime grilling, sizzling, burning meat. Not the barbecue grill, it's tanning on the beach. Summertime grilling, sizzling, burning meat. Not the barbecue grill, it's tanning on the beach. O Camden, rebirth, rebirth. Birthing hope, hope, birthing. O Camden, rebirth, rebirth. Birthing hope, hope, birthing. And the last one I'll do is, this is one of my favorites. And to say, Father Michael, I apologize for not being at Mass this morning. I had knee surgery on Friday, and it's the first time I've been out of the house. A Druid's leprechaun, Celtic lion's wisdom, Monsignor Shepherd. A Druid's leprechaun, Celtic lion's wisdom, Monsignor Shepherd. Thank you, everybody.
On the last warm day, damselfly and a little brown frog. On the last warm day, damselfly and a little brown frog. Oh, this one's sad. I lost a very dear friend this month. The tinny sound of steel in sand, shovel in cool earth, thud on the coffin. The tinny sound of steel in sand, shovel in cool earth, thud on the coffin. Goldenrod season, the yard cat's fur is thicker. Goldenrod season, the yard cat's fur is thicker. Thank you all.
This is an old one. I might have even sent this one to Nick many years ago. A wrapped gift on the child's grave. Winter rain. A wrapped gift on the child's grave. winter rain. With no money, I go snow viewing. With no money, I go snow viewing. This next one is a senyu, which is similar in form to haiku but differs in content. Focuses more on human nature. Done, the shoeshine boy snaps his rag. Done, the shoeshine boy snaps his rag. And I'll read one last one. Yep, it's CAMDEN for you. And this is a kyoka. Kyoka is very similar to tanka, only it's humorous. Tonight I gazed into the universe of infinite galaxies and thought how insignificant I am. Still, I washed behind my ears. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Tony DeSantis. I don't write haiku except when I'm around other people writing haiku, but I was kind of inspired by the surroundings, so I have two that I just thought of today. There's a Henry D. Moore over there, so he just kind of inspired this. Henry D. Moore, Benjamin Moore, More Amsterdam, no more. Yeah, it's Henry D. Moore, Benjamin Moore, More Amsterdam, no more. And the second one was, since I noticed there was a doctor there, I thought this. A doctor and a poet lying next to each other, equal before God. Doctor and poet lying next to each other, equal before God. Thank you.
Here's one. I've been trying to describe the feeling of going to the beach the first time, each year. Spring gulls bring me to the beach, laughing. Spring gulls bring me to the beach, laughing. Now, these gulls happen to be known as laughing gulls, so that kind of makes it whatever. Somewhat of a joke, I suppose. Colors deepen, the egret, winging by the setting sun. Colors deepen, the egret, winging by the setting sun. Walking down the street, through the driving blizzard, white petals storm. Walking down the street, through the driving blizzard, white petals storm. Anyway, don't forget O'Donnell's.
I'm going to read a haiku. The second one's going to be a hybrid, and the third one's going to be a hijinks. Fly on a calendar, flits from spring to summer. Fly on a calendar, flits from spring to summer. Harley Poet's nature hike, lilies, leaves, and grass. Harley Poet's nature hike, lilies, leaves, and grass. A dove perched on a graveyard lectern coos. Haiku! Haiku! Dove perched on a graveyard lectern coos. Haiku! Haiku!
Well, I want to thank that last lady for the perfect introduction to this little haiku, because I thought of this on the ride over here, and I'm not really a haiku poet. My name is Vox Parvis. It means little voice. And I like to tell people, I don't really know a lot of famous people or anything like that, but I know people who know people, you see. And I never met Nick, I'm kind of a late bloomer, but from knowing everybody here and listening to all these haikus and these stories, I feel like I know them, you know? And isn't that the legacy, that down the road, after you're gone, the people remember you and they know you like they knew you, and yet you never met them. It's kind of neat. So, this is my little haiku that I thought of while I was driving down here, and it took forever to find a pencil. I finally wrote it down so I don't mess it up. But it was a perfect introduction right after this last woman spoke about Nick wanting to be remembered. See? Near Whitman's shrine, a crowd stampedes leaves of grass, remembering Nick. Near Whitman's shrine, a crowd stampedes leaves of grass, remembering Nick.
Read. Up here, anyone can read. Anyone. Whatever they have. A breeze stirs a fresh flower in the baby bottle. An old woman weeps. A breeze stirs a fresh flower in the baby bottle. An old woman weeps. Batting his home run over the graveyard fence. Out of here, she yelled. Batting his home run over the graveyard fence. Out of here, she yelled. This is about my own parish church where I was baptized and so on. And the church is in the middle of the graveyard, right in the middle of it. The sheep, this is true, I just saw this with my own eyes, the sheep raising their heads in the graveyard grass, the Angelus bell. The sheep raising their heads in the graveyard grass, the Angelus bell. And finally, I wrote this for Rosalind Briley. Some of you know Rosalind Briley. She was sitting under a weeping willow, big weeping willow, with long blonde hair. And that was the scene. And I always wanted to remember it. It was like so utterly beautiful. And she did the same on this hill here once upon a time. Anyway, this is it. Her long blonde hair as she tuned her harp, wind in the weeping willow. Her long blonde hair as she tuned her harp, wind in the weeping willow. Thank you.
Nick was an interesting kind of guy. Probably heard these stories from me before about him. He was a guy who's kind of like a fly, like a gnat. He was always buzzing around you. And he always had ideas about poems and ideas about politics and ideas about nature and people, and he used to talk all the time, and he'd always be writing things down on little pieces of paper, and he'd try it on you, whether you're in the back of the church or you're at the cafeteria or whether you were at Reading Terminal Market with him hanging out. He always had these little slips of paper, and he'd always be slipping them to you, and always he had something written on it, and he'd read it out to you, and you'd say, "Oh yeah, that's pretty good, Nick." And he'd look at you and he'd throw it away. And I think about that now a lot now, to think about all the treasures he probably threw away all those years, the things that probably really, really something, special. So I just wanted to let you know about he was just a great guy, and we all miss him, and he was just unusual, and especially finding out later that he was such a renowned, great haiku poet.
Young man called Ben that spoke about Nick as a fly. I have to admit, I was here to rest in peace. I didn't mind the forays on my birthday, but 25 years ago, I started to hear knocks on my tomb door. And I left it in my will that the door be left open so I'd be free to wander the countryside. Not that other spirits would be free to wander into my tomb. Well, anyway, I'd hear this little knocking, and then I'd hear bug, bass picking bugs off the moon. And every night, there'd be another poem. I found out later they're called haiku. I wasn't really familiar with haiku when I was writing. But this man, Nicholas, and I got to be good friends. And we'd wander around together late at night. And Nick would give me a haiku. My favorite was Spring Love Affair. My old upright Remington wears a new ribbon. I was a typesetter, so I appreciated that poem. And I gave him my shortest poem, The Runner, which unfortunately I haven't memorized. And Nick and I passed the time that way. Me learning the Japanese form he knows so well, sharing stories of Camden, the Camden we both loved. And he makes me laugh sometimes. He told me that my Leaves of Grass was popular in the library. He said people were taking it out all the time thinking it was a book on lawn care. Well, I couldn't, it was hard for me, whose first poem was 60 pages long. And here's Nick's poem, Lily out of the water, out of itself. I wish I could condense my poetry. But anyway, I did write this on the 25th anniversary of Nick's being called back. It's a little bit of a takeoff on one of my other poems. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
I sing. What a picture. I sing Nick Virgilio and celebrate Nick Virgilio. And what he assumes, I shall assume. For every atom belonging to him as well belongs to me. Nick loafs, observing a water lily. His eye, his tongue, every atom of his being formed from this water, this mud, this soil, this air. Born here of Rose and Anthony. Born here of parents the same, and their parents the same, and their parents the same. Nick, on June 26, 1928, began with a wow, which he later sharpened into 17 syllables or less. Hoping to cease not until eternity called him back. But here you all are after 25 years after Nick's death, still composing haiku in his memory. So his wail still echoes through this cemetery, this city, this state, this country, this world. The spotted hawk swoops by, complains of my gab and my loitering. Thanks in good part to Nick, we too are not a bit tamed. We too are untranslatable. This is your part, boys and girls. We sound our barbaric yeah over the rooftops of the world. But we bequeath ourselves to the dirt, to the ivy, to grow from the grass and the ivy that we love. If you want us again, look for us under your boot soles. You will not know who we are or what we mean, but we shall be good health to you nonetheless, and filter and fiber your blood. Failing to fetch us at first, keep encouraged. Missing us one place, search another. For we stop. We stop somewhere, waiting for you, and you, and you, and you.
Sacred Heart. And Nick loved our parish. He did. Where would Nick be without Sacred Heart and the Elgin Diner in Camden? But Sacred Heart and Michael Doyle certainly were so inspirational and encouraging. I taught kindergarten at the time that Nick was in his heyday in the kitchen at Sacred Heart Rectory, coming in from the Reading Terminal. He was great. He just didn't like taking care of children too much, but otherwise teaching them haiku poetry when I taught 4th grade was fantastic. And I will always be grateful for that experience over at the Walt Whitman Poetry Center, where Nick took my children and really made them little poets. And I've seen them as adults, and they still celebrate what Nick did for them.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rick Black. It was really a pleasure to do the judging because, you know, if haiku is going to live on, it's got to be with the youth. And it's such a great idea to have that contest, Tony. I mean, everybody who entered the contest, I think, was a winner just for trying their hands at doing the writing. And a lot of the poems, kids really were trying to deal with some tough stuff.
My grandma, watching her pine trees for the last time. My grandma, watching her pine trees for the last time. Grant Dunleavy, Sage Hill School, grade 9, Newport Coast, California. Her greenhouse, 16 plants she knows by name. Her greenhouse, 16 plants she knows by name. Ryan Schumann, Sage Hill School, grade 12, Newport Coast, California. And the last one, El Morto, salt water stinging my sunburned back. El Morto, salt water stinging my sunburned back. Michelle Ogilvy, Sage Hill School, grade 12, Newport Coast, California. And the Nick Virgilio Haiku Association would like to thank Rick Black and Rafael Di Grutala for this year's judging. They did an excellent job, and I think they deserve a round of applause.
I have a poem from Kathleen that she asked me to read for her, so I'll start with that one. This midsummer's night, fewer and fewer fireflies. This midsummer's night, fewer and fewer fireflies. Or not, but this was Italian-American magazine, and they had asked me to do a piece on Nick for the magazine, so we had that, and we had a couple of beautiful reviews. The book that we did, Nick Virgilio, Life in Haiku, has won a couple of awards, prestigious haiku awards, so that's been very nice. And in the course of doing the book, I was in touch with a lot of people, and one of them was XJ Kennedy, Joe Kennedy, who knew Nick. And he said, you know, Nick and I had a correspondence, and in his letters he would write some haiku poems. Here's one I really love. This is one of Nick's poems. barbershop floor. My hair mingles with fathers and grandfathers. Barbershop floor. My hair mingles with fathers and grandfathers. Just love that poem. Building its song, then turning in on itself. Cicada. Building its song, then turning in on itself. Cicada. My dead brother, hearing his whistle in the cardinals. My dead brother, hearing his whistle in the cardinals. Urban renewal. The blind accordionist moves to another corner. Urban renewal. The blind accordionist moves to another corner. Maybe one more. I don't know what inspired him to write this one. Darkened by the, you say drought or drought? Drought. Darkened by the drought. Halfway up the elephant's trunk. River watermark. Darkened by the drought. Halfway up the elephant's trunk. River watermark. The old covered bridge. Swept away by the flash flood. Pigeon nest adrift. The old covered bridge. Swept away by the flash flood. Pigeon nest adrift. January freeze. Kids roasting sweet potatoes. Burning Christmas tree. January freeze. Kids roasting sweet potatoes. Burning Christmas trees. Sahara silence. On the dunes in the moonlight. Ruins of Rommel. Sahara silence. On the dunes in the moonlight. Ruins of Rommel. Biology homework. Exploring the girl next door. The latchkey boy. Biology homework. Exploring the girl next door. The latchkey boy. So those are just a bunch of them that Joe shared with me. I thought folks would enjoy it.
In Nick's book, Life in Haiku, there's an article written by Father Michael Doyle called A Tribute to Nick. And in that article he mentions this letter that Nick had wrote to this young budding poet who was just learning about haiku. And as it turns out, that poet was me. And I would like to read that letter that Nick wrote me back in 1971. Dear Alan, thank you for your letter and poems. May I suggest that you compose and study every day? Whatever I have achieved has come of very hard work, night and day study and composition since 1962. Excellence requires dedication. There is no other way. Have you read Henderson's Introduction to Haiku? Doubleday Anchor, Haiku in English, Tuttle and Company. Study Blythe's volumes on haiku. That's R.H. Blythe, published by Hokusaido Press. These books will give you an excellent base to work from. You have to compose a lot of these, hundreds to be any good. I think you can be a good poet if you are willing to work. Try daily study and composition for at least 2 years. You'll see what I mean. And then he quotes me one of his haiku. A great white swan is tugging on the neck of a water lily. A great white swan is tugging on the neck of a water lily. That was published in Haiku Quest. And then he says, subscribe to Haiku Quest magazine, and says sincerely, Nick Virgilio, P.S. Don't let anyone's opinion discourage you. And so, reading Nick's letter now, years later, I can fully appreciate the truth of his words. The hard work ethic is especially relevant and essential to the seemingly simple poetic genre of haiku.
It was to show Henry's passing around the Writer's House, the latest drawings we have for the Writer's House, which is being built at the corner of Jasper and Broadway, across from the Sacred Heart Church. And by being the president of the board of directors of the Heart of Camden, I'm privy to the blueprints of that project. So I wanted to show everybody what we're trying to accomplish with the Writer's House in its present form. And we're still open to ideas on how to make it a better facility. But it's basically a house for writers to come, express themselves, teach, and of course we all learn. And it's a 3-floor building. It's a huge building with a Mansour roof, as Father Michael's always talking about, which matches up with the theater to the other end of the block. So it's going to be a great project. It's been funded, and we hope to have that completed sometime in 2015. So we're really proud of this project, and the funding's in place, and it's going to be built, and we're just really, really happy about that.
It wasn't so hot when for the 24th anniversary, Cassie McDonald and myself knelt at the edge of this little lake, and we sent the sailboats into the stream. It was just an absolutely delightful few moments. It was misty. The greens couldn't be greener. So on a day like that, when you have the time, come here by yourself and reflect. Sit by the water. It's just so wonderful. And today, I just want you to know that for the 25th anniversary and for our own Feast of the Sacred Heart, I brought the crown from the Blessed Mother, which we used on the Feast of the Assumption. So there are marigolds in this little wreath, and I set it out, and it's out there somewhere. I hope it's by the little baby geese. The palms from Palm Sundays past have brought wonderful reward to Camden. That little crown there it is, to the left of the little island. The cradle is the palm, and I just know that Nick would love that, and there's a haiku in it somewhere, but that's not my role in life. Thank you.
He used to speak to me about it, and I know he spoke to other people about it. And he would say, I'm going to die. I know I am, because I have a bad heart, and I'm not willing to have surgery. I just don't want to be forgotten. I hope I'm not going to be forgotten. That's it.